Thank you. To introduce our next guest, please turn your attention once again to the video monitors.
I just turned this on, I think. Is that on?
It's a build-up.
Lawrenceburg, Tennessee. A small town, but a big part of Fred Thompson. It's where he learned the heartland values he carries with him still today. The son of a used car salesman, he was blessed with loving parents. Working 2 jobs after high school, standing in ankle-deep water on an assembly line one night, it occurred to Fred Thompson he might want to get a better education. Memphis State, first degree in his family. Law school at Vanderbilt, another first. Along the way, he read Barry Goldwater's Conscience of a Conservative, and it struck a chord. A small-town lawyer who helped in a local campaign and happened to meet a man named Ronald Reagan. A bond was born. Fred Thompson isn't a professional politician, but he has a lifetime of service to our nation. At a young age, Fred Thompson was at work as a federal prosecutor, attacking crime and public corruption. When Watergate rocked American politics, the call went out to Fred Thompson. As lead Republican attorney on the Watergate committee, he put honesty first. The rest is history. In 1977, Fred Thompson took on the entire Tennessee power structure. A brave woman named Marie Ridge blew the whistle on a major scandal. She found herself fired and harassed. Thompson fought for her when no one else would, and won. The governor ended up in jail. Elected to the Senate in 1994 as part of the conservative Republican Revolution, Fred went on to win re-election by the largest margin in Tennessee history. In the Senate, he voted to balance the budget, pass welfare reform, cut taxes, reform Congress, and strengthen our military and intelligence capacity. Fred put the heat on federal agencies by targeting mismanagement. His work identified $20 billion in wasteful spending. When President Bush needed a leader to guide the nomination of Chief Justice John Roberts through a partisan Senate fight, the call went out to Fred Thompson again. Roberts was approved, ensuring a conservative Chief Justice for the next generation. Advising Secretary of State Rice on international security matters, taking a lead on examining the challenges of dealing with China. Now, Fred Thompson is ready to serve again, ready to fight for us, ready to fight for our families. It's a job that his character and honesty uniquely prepare him to fulfill, a role only Fred Thompson can play.
Very warm welcome for presidential candidate Fred Thompson.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Wayne. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'm glad you finally got that video up. All I'll say to all you young men out there with a full head of hair, enjoy it while you can. Thank you, Wayne. Thank you all. I appreciate you inviting me here today. I've seen your agenda and the number of politicians that you're going to be listening to, and I don't know whether to admire you for your stamina or compliment you on your being such a glutton for punishment, but I'm glad you included me in the mix. My relationship with you folks can be summed up very shortly. Check the record. Now, that's about all I probably need to say. But having rejoined the ranks of the politicians again, obviously that's not all I'm going to say. But I do remember our relationship from way back, from the time that Charlton Heston came to Tennessee in 1994, and I formed a friendship with that great American and watched him hobble across the state with me on a bad hip and go through pain to help me win my first election in the United States Senate. I think back to the time that I had for a while I had a skeet shoot there in Nashville. Many of you know of. I met some of you there for the first time. We raised a little money for juvenile diabetes. And then, of course, your support for me for the United States Senate and my support for the Second Amendment, as I said I would do when I went to the United States Senate. I never subscribed to the notion that it made our country safer by infringing on the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens. I think back to the A rating I got from this organization and the endorsements that I was proud to receive. So it's not just a matter of promises made, as far as I'm concerned. It's a matter of commitments that have been kept. But you know, sometimes when the stage gets a little larger, the voices get a little weaker. My first trip to New Hampshire after I announced my candidacy, I went to a gun store. When I was in Florida just last week, I went to a gun show right before the UT Florida football game. I should have stayed at the gun show. But it's not because I hang out there every day. It's because I wanted to demonstrate something that I think is important. That I will say the same things that I've been saying since 1994, and that what I say in New Hampshire, I will say in Florida, and all parts in between. My philosophy does not depend on my geography, and I thought it was time I laid down that marker early on. But we're here today not just because of our support of the Second Amendment. We're here today for our support for the rest of the Constitution and what I call the first principles that this country was founded upon. These first principles have to do with human nature, they have to do with the wisdom of the ages, and they have to do with the notion that there's some things that don't change in this changing world that we live in. It's given us the Declaration of Independence, which reminds us, if we need reminding, that our basic rights come from God and not from government. It's given us the Constitution of the United States. Thank you. Thank you. It's given us the Constitution of the United States, which divides power based on the notion that it's not good to put too much power in too few hands. And it divides it not only at the federal level, but between the federal and the state level based on the notion that all solutions to all problems are not found in Washington, D.C. That, in turn, is based upon the idea of the eternal truth that this country was founded upon. That's the idea of freedom, individual freedom, political freedom, economic freedom, and the fact that all those things are tied together. And it's also based upon the knowledge that we have that a government's big and powerful enough to give you anything is big and powerful enough to take anything away from you, and we reject that kind of government in this country. And with those first principles, it allowed a fellow like me to get in his truck and go from one end of the state to the other. Started 20 points down, wound up 20 points ahead on election night. Won a state by 20 points, 2 different elections, 20 points each, in a state that Bill Clinton carried twice. Talking about lower taxes, talking about less regulation, talking about the importance of the sanctity of life, talking about competition among free people in that free marketplace, talking about the importance of trade, and how if we adhered to those principles, we'd remain the most prosperous country in the history of the world. And not only for us, but it set an example for everybody else in the world, any other country that applied those principles and a little dose of rule of law, and it's almost guaranteed economic success for any nation that's ever tried it, anywhere in the world. And obviously, a part of that is strong defense and appreciation consistently for the Second Amendment. It was not because back in those days I was thinking about running for president. I think my history shows that I'm not standing here before you as somebody who's craved that office ever since I was a junior in high school. That's not been the case. I'm simply another American, and another American story, like many of you out here, who looks down the road a little bit, is concerned about his country in the future, realizes there are going to be some decisions on the next president's plate that's going to determine our future and the future of our children and grandchildren for many years to come. That's hit home more to me than ever in the last few years. I have been blessed in many ways in my life. Some of them come a little later in life instead of a little sooner. And a couple of them are sitting at home now waiting on me to get back, ages 4 and 11 months, and I'm proud to have my wife and their mother with me here tonight, Jerry Thompson. Thank you for being here tonight, today. She wanted you to know that she's supportive also. We just came off the campaign trail, got in late last night, but she wanted to be here today. And I don't know, but I think she'd make a much better first lady than Bill Clinton. What do you think? But we have been successful as a nation, and we ought to be proud of that fact. We shouldn't be ashamed of it. Take a lot of criticism around the world, but I always think of the proposition that I live in a country that shed more blood for other people's liberty than all the other countries in the world. And there's no reason to apologize for the United States of America. We are steeped in the tradition of honor and sacrifice for the greater good in this nation. We are proud of that heritage. And our country and these challenges that are going to be facing us in the near future needs a leader who stands by the principles that has made us a great nation, that understands this nation, understands her people, understands the greatness of America's past, but more importantly, understands the greatness of America's future. My friends, I submit to you, I am that man. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Now, they tell me we still got time for questions and answers.
We do.
Because I got a couple of questions. Now, go ahead.
We submitted some questions from the members, and here they go. Some have argued that the Second Amendment means different things in different places. That it's okay for New York City or Chicago to impose more restrictions on gun owners' rights than it is in Tennessee or Montana. Do you agree with that view?
Nope. I would only point out that it's more than coincidental that so many places that have such high crime rates have the toughest gun restrictions in America. That's more than a coincidence.
What is your position on gun shows?
Well, just having come from one, no, I enjoy gun shows. I think that they're a part of Americana. I don't know that anybody would be against gun shows. There are various kinds of regulations and proposals that would restrict private citizens who are not professional dealers or anything like that and place rules on them as they go there. I've always been against that. We have had, over my years in the Senate, all kinds and any kind, as you well know, over the 8 years I was there, restrictions on the Second Amendment rights of one kind or another. And those who would do that try to pick the most vulnerable areas, try to pick the high-profile areas, try to single out some little something and embarrass somebody with it. And gun shows have been an easy target for that, but I've always resisted that and would continue to do so.
Okay. If elected president, will you support the position of the Bush administration that the Second Amendment protects an individual right to keep and bear arms and appoint an attorney general who does as well?
Yes. I think we're winning on the interpretation of the Second Amendment. I've always taken a position that kind of a complicated position that I've worked out. The Constitution means what it says, and it seems to me that the old militia debate that's been going on sometimes is not only being rejected in the courts, but it's being rejected by scholars who are not necessarily traditional friends of Second Amendment rights. But the Constitution does mean what it says, and it's not restricted to protection of militias. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure being with you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Wonderful. I'm a great friend of Johnny Majors.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, he's a great guy. Great guy.
Ladies and gentlemen,